Hello, welcome to the 2014 Misco Expo. I'm joined by Mark from Microsoft. Mark, it's great to have this opportunity to speak with you. You've been at Microsoft since effectively the turn of the century. As a partner technology strategist, what does your role at the company entail?
So my role as a PTS, I actually work with partners and also small businesses to help them understand how to use Microsoft technology to kind of achieve more really in what they do. My wife actually runs a small business herself, so a lot of what we do at work I try and apply to her business as well.
I hope she uses Microsoft products.
She does, so I make sure of that.
Okay, Microsoft has undergone massive restructuring in recent years with the goal of becoming one Microsoft. How does that impact your role and the small businesses that you work with?
So I think what businesses and the conversation I have with those businesses tends to be that whereas a lot of stuff was a lot more disjointed perhaps previously, so one system might not kind of work best with the one next to it. The kind of end experience for the end user is a lot better now. If you take something like OneDrive, even for consumers, being able to use that across your Xbox, across your PC, your phone that isn't a Windows phone, these sort of things come through with the one Microsoft theme that we should all be working together, all of the different departments, to make it easier for the consumer or the end customer to use our technology.
That's a very interesting point, because just the other day you announced the Microsoft Health Band, and you can see that works across ecosystems, and it's a more unified approach, whereas you can see a huge difference
exactly.
there.
It's a prime example of where actually we're doing something a lot different to some of the other vendors in that area, producing something that does work across a number of devices, not just the Microsoft ones.
Okay, looking more specifically at the business segment, which Microsoft cloud technologies do you think are vital to small businesses?
So there's probably two major ones, I would say. So the first one is Office 365. Office 365 not only gives you Office on a subscription base, it's in the same way that you have your music, Spotify as a subscription, and your movies, Netflix. Others are available, of course, but two prime examples. You can get Office in the same way as well. On top of that, being able to get hold of the technology that I use at Microsoft every day, so big Exchange mailbox, or OneDrive for storing my files, or Link for communicating with people, that's available to tiny small businesses like my wife's, and they use exactly the same as we do and can achieve the same kind of results. The other bit, and if you take that as being productivity, the other area is obviously things like server infrastructure. So we have Windows Server 2003 going end of life next year. We have something called Azure that is one good place that you could move those servers to, and Azure is really changing it for small businesses. Whereas a small business previously couldn't afford to go and buy 10, 15 servers to do their end of year processing or whatever it was, they can go and rent those from Microsoft and our partners straight away. Have access to exactly the same technology any large organisation does now.
Okay, you've just mentioned Windows Server 2003. It's a hot topic at this year's Misco Expo. It's rapidly approaching end of life. What is Microsoft doing to make customers aware that they need to address that issue? Analysts are estimating that there are still more than 10 million computers running WS 2003. So how do you make them all aware of that and the need to change?
Yes, we're working with a number of our partners, Misco included, to educate our customers on the fact that it's going out of support. And we're trying to help both our partners and the end customers understand how they can migrate, whether that's figuring out what they need to migrate over, then figuring out what they should start on first, what's the easy stuff to go for, what's the harder kind of elements to start looking at, and then figuring out a path. And those paths, oddly enough, are Office 365. Maybe you buy another Windows server, the 2012 R2 one. Maybe you put it into Azure, or maybe you put it into a partner-hosted data center. But all four of those kind of options are really where we see customers taking their old Windows servers to.
Okay, you've touched on a couple of them there, but for people who already have a migration plan in place, what other recommendations would you have for people moving from Windows Server 2003?
So first thing to do is assess your environment. So there's something called the Maps tool, the Microsoft, in fact I can't remember what it's called, it's the Maps tool, and from that assessment tool you can figure out what you have running on your machine and what you could migrate over on your server. Once you've got that, you need to then assess and have an idea of by role type and by criticality, i.e. how important that thing is. by complexity, what you're going to move over. You then have to figure out where you're going to move that to, so what is the destination. I said before, Office 365, Azure, or Windows Server or partner hosted. And then the final thing is find a partner to help you do it and actually migrate the stuff. And as we get closer towards the 14th of July 2015, it's somewhere between 200 and 300 days it takes to migrate a server over from start to finish. So really, people need to be thinking about that right now, because time is ticking, and it'll be July before we know it.
Yeah, the clock is ticking. Okay, Mark, one final question, a nice broad one to end with. How do you think your customers, consumers and businesses are going to perceive Microsoft, say, 10 years from now?
So I think what they'll see from Microsoft, and this is my kind of personal feeling, is over time, hopefully they'll see us as being more open. So the Microsoft band is a good example of that. Having OneDrive on a number of devices is another good example. And so I think they'll see us being more open to other platforms. And really, the two kind of areas I think you'll see is cloud. So people seeing us moving our services and making them available in cloud as well, and also thinking about mobile as well. So the cloud first, mobile first kind of mantra. And I think you'll see a lot of what we do will be based around the mobile element as well as the cloud.
Okay, Mark, it's been fascinating to speak to you as we transition to this mobile first, cloud first philosophy. So thanks very much for your time and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.